I just read today how Reed Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn and other big startups, I think PayPal as well, he talks about how when you're like a startup, if you're not burning the candle at both ends, then you're not a true entrepreneur. You're not a true startup. And I read that and I was like, man, but that just goes against everything I've found that works for me, is that I have to strive towards balance, not extremities. You're an amazing model for people about not doing extreme diets, not punishing workouts, like really finding balance. How does that play into that very American mentality of like, go big or go home, or if you want to make a lot of money, you got to go hard, that kind of concept?
I actually love putting constraints on myself. Let's just say the goal is to lose 20 pounds, get to 10% body fat. I will put a constraint on myself to say, well, I want to be able to have ice cream with my daughter every single Saturday. If I'm building a business, I'm trying to build it up to $10 million. What's going to happen is that I'm going to set a constraint for myself to say, I can only work from 8 to 4 and I take weekends off. The reason I would set these things is, one, there's no point to attaining all of this stuff if you lose the things that are most important to you, which are your health and your family. If you're giving up on those things, especially everything that we know about, let's just say little kids, like if we have little kids, there is this finite amount of time that we get to enjoy them. If you spend the finite amount of time trying to build this thing and spending all your time away from them, what are we doing? You're going to look back at that and be like, I missed probably the most important time in their life. And then they're probably not going to even want to chill with you like when they get older anyways.
Yeah, so that's the excuse people use all the time. Like, I'm doing this for you. I'm working this hard for the family, or I'm always working out because I want to live longer, spend time with you.
They use that as rationalizations. They're really doing it for themselves because they love the game. They actually find more comfort playing that game than they find comfort in being the family man. I like to set constraints because I do believe that you can attain very cool, amazing, life-changing things, even building a billion-dollar company by having constraints. And then what's going to happen is when you set these constraints on yourself, you're going to set boundaries. And then it's going to make you think, okay, so if I were to build an 8-figure business by only working 8 to 4 and taking weekends off, what exactly are the resources I would need in which to attain that, in which to succeed at that? You would actually look at things a lot differently. Instead of being like the bottleneck for all the decisions, maybe you hire a COO or a CEO. You will actually look at things in a lot more of a different lens when you set constraints. And then you say, I am going to achieve this based on these constraints that I set for myself. You're setting constraints because you want to prioritize the things that matter most in life, which are going to be your health and your family. So anytime that I'm setting a goal for myself, I'm saying, okay, I have to do this within the context of these constraints because these are actually the things that matter most to me. This building business thing, this actually is kind of fun for me. This is like me doing my hobby a little bit, and I love doing it. And I can do it 12 hours a day, 24/7. I love doing it, but you can't play basketball 24/7. You can't be good at anything by going 24/7, and you can't be good at the things that you actually want to be good at, which is being a good family man and being healthy, by going 24/7 and over-indexing on something like a business. So that's what I would do. I would set these constraints, and I would make sure that these constraints are related to the priorities that I have in my life.
You bring up an interesting point. The person that is, the workaholic, using the family as the excuse. You bring up the point of what they really want versus what they're presenting to their family, right? In a way, that's kind of saying like, well, how honest are you going to be about your own motivations? But then we're also talking about mindset, which sometimes there is a fake it till you make it kind of mentality to change your mindset, which is what most people are doing. To get out of that, you do have to kind of fake it until you make it, right? You got to change that mindset and find, the glass is half full versus half empty. You've got to change perspective. How do you recommend people do that?
The first thing is like listen to the right people. I mean, that's like number one. Get advice from people that you would actually love to trade places with, because we're living in this world where we're inundated with information and inundated with people giving advice. And, ironically, here we are on a podcast giving advice. But one of the biggest things that has helped me is like asking myself, would I want to trade places with this person? So let's just say it's like some entrepreneur, or maybe it's even Reed Hoffman. I'd be like, okay, so cool. Do his kids actually like him? Is he a good father? We all have this kind of like, I forgot what it is. It's, I think it's like the parasocial relationship that we have with the people that are influencing us. So it's like, number one, choose the right role models. I'm not choosing Elon Musk as a role model. I am quite inspired by the things that he is achieving, but I'm not choosing him as a role model. I'm choosing the guy who is probably quietly a great dad, who is building a fantastic business, and I'm listening to his advice, and I'm making sure that I'm going to be following what he does in his life. The other mindset is to understand it's like to know yourself. It's to have this self-awareness. So why do we want to achieve the things that we want? Let's just say 99% of the things that we want to achieve are going to be for status, to elevate ourselves. There is only so much money that we can make that is going to make us happier past the point of taking care of all of the things that help us survive. Knowing why you want what you want is one of the biggest ways to avoid climbing the wrong ladder. I had a client before, he's like, I want to do a bodybuilding competition and I want to take it all the way there. And I was just like, why? Like, oh, so I can get myself in shape. Well, you don't have to join a bodybuilding competition to getting in shape. You don't understand the amount of eating disorders these bodybuilders have to get to the levels of body fat. And also, what's going to happen when you get up on stage? Maybe you win, maybe you don't. Who cares, right? But you're going to get the ego boost of saying that I did it. What is that actually going to do for you? Why do you want what you want? People want things because other people want them, not because they actually want them. If that makes any sense. So we have to have this level of self-awareness and keep on asking ourselves, okay, so why do I want this? Why do I want that? What is this going to do for me? What is this going to do for my family? What is this going to do for my health? It takes us from going through life in this like unconscious manner to really just like having a discerning eye for inviting the things that you feel are going to supposedly make your life better.
That discerning eye can be also another word for that could be discipline, right? And you've talked about previously, like discipline is love. Can you unpack that, particularly in how someone who's struggling with self-care or self-worth can reframe discipline? Because a lot of people in the parenting world, that word discipline has a bad rap. Don't discipline your kids. You're too restrictive around diet. You know, there's all these kind of associations with that word. So how can we reframe that word to turn it back into that discipline is love?
Well, remember when we were kids? I don't know what your family life was like back then, but generations changed. Our perception of the word discipline is getting a belt.
Totally.
You know, the caveman version of punishment. We saw discipline, or people like in our age saw discipline as this negative thing. We are getting disciplined. And what that meant was physical harm or getting something taken away. Nowadays, obviously we have gentle parenting and like all this kind of stuff that's becoming popular. What discipline means today is the concept of actually caring for yourself. So as we grow older, we have to do this thing that the Gen Z people call adulting. It's just maturing. We have to care for ourselves. What does that mean? It doesn't mean you're sitting on your couch watching Netflix. It doesn't mean that you're kind of like eating whatever you want and just like leaning into emotional eating, stress eating, and being like, I can just have ice cream whenever I want. What it means is to actually care for yourself as if you were an organism you're taking care of, like a plant, maybe. And maybe some people are like, I can't take care of plants. My plants always die on me. But anyways, I digress. Caring for ourselves means to feed ourselves, to nourish ourselves in a way that is going to help us perform in the best way that we can possibly perform. Taking care of ourselves through exercise, making sure that regardless of how we feel, we're going to create a routine. We're going to hit the gym 3 times a week. It doesn't matter what you're feeling. You're going to hit it. It means going to bed on time and not like, scrolling through social media or doom scrolling and kind of like frying your dopamine receptors, listening to people give you loads of information, usually wrong information. So the concept of discipline is actually self-care. The concept of discipline is self-love. You are taking care of yourself. That is what discipline is now in modern day.
If you enjoyed the clip from the podcast, make sure to check out the next video up here or head over to watch the full episode down here. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Come on. Yeah, thanks for watching.